Hello, everyone, and welcome along to the latest episode of Gold Guest Talk Tottenham, sponsored by NordVPN. With me, Lee Wilmot, today because Rob Guest is on holiday, and I'm joined, as ever, by Alasdair Gold, who's not in the country because he's coming to us live. Well, live if you're watching it now, which you're not, from Norway, and ready for tomorrow's big game. We are talking on Wednesday with the game on Thursday, obviously. Alasdair, how are you? How was the flight? Everything okay in Norway?
Yes. I hope you're well too. Anyone tuning into the YouTube video will be sorely disappointed at the not so spectacular view. Because there is a spectacular view, but it is behind curtains because we did a test and we had it all this amazing stretch of Norwegian sea that goes out behind my hotel room. And it was just pitch black in the room because of the way webcams work and all that malarkey. So unfortunately, I've had to close the curtains. So anyone not watching, I'll describe the scene. I look like I've been taken hostage, and I'm trying to do a distress video to Lee to get me out of Norway. But yes, I'm hearing, as the lady at Passport Control told me, Bodo, like that, something like that. She did the pronunciation better because she's Norwegian. But yes, I was calling it Bodo the whole time. I was apparently being completely wrong. It is Buddha. It's a nice little kind of archetypal Norwegian town by the sea. Exactly what you would expect. It's just a quick walk from the airport. It's 30 minutes into the centre of the city. You just walk. The stadium's about 20 minutes from the airport as well, 15, 20 minutes. It's all very nice and exactly where we'd want it to be. And hopefully Tottenham will be where we want them to be after tomorrow night.
Yes, hopefully. Looking forward to the next 24, 36 hours covering Tottenham. This is going to be a reasonably short and sweet podcast today because you have to get off to Andrew's press conference, don't you? Do we know who the player is involved today as well?
It is Guillermo Vicario.
Okay.
So he's got some things to talk about, no doubt. His recent form has been a little bit shaky, a little bit patchy, especially his distribution. And yes, I'm hoping it's a shorter podcast because I'm having to hold my microphone and my poor arm's going to get tired by the time we get to the end of it. But we've still got loads we can chat about, and the game itself, and we've had the Villa game moved as well. We've got some injury bits and pieces we need to tidy up, and a not too small game to cover as well tomorrow night.
Exactly. We certainly don't want you getting sore arms after sore legs from the marathon last week. So yes, we'll keep it short. We're all. I say we're all. There's only two of us. We're here to discuss the Bodo Glimt game on Thursday night. Spurs 3-1 up from the first leg. Pretty good performance in the first leg at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Probably could have been more than 2 goals to the good. That late goal from Bodo just kind of deflated everyone, I think, a little bit, even though it was a strong, commanding performance from Spurs, which was not in keeping with the rest of the season, let's truth be told. We're going into it in a strong position, 2 goals up, but we know it's going to be tough in Norway. What are the temperatures like out there for a start, and how are you expecting Spurs to kind of react to playing on an artificial pitch?
Well, we've seen them on an artificial pitch this season. Wasn't pretty. So I'm hoping they'll have learned some stuff from that, and it will be a better performance. That, as Postecoglou said, it is, of course, going to be a very different kind of pitch. With no disrespect to Tamworth, but I would imagine, and so we're led to believe, it's a kind of a higher standard of artificial pitch. You know, this has to be suitable for the Europa League and the Europa League semi-final. So fingers crossed it's going to be suitable for a good game of football. It's temperature-wise, it's just kind of like a chilly day in the UK. It's not like plummeting temperatures or anything like that. Actually, let me look at my phone. My phone can tell me exactly what it is right now. 7 degrees. So it's not freezing, but it's players in the Premier League should be used to playing in those kind of temperatures. You know, there's not snow everywhere. There's snow up on some of the nearby, I presume they're mountains. But yeah, it's other than the artificial pitch, which obviously is going to take a bit of getting used to, the bounce of the ball, things like that. And anyone that has dodgy hamstrings or knees, which is pretty much most of the Tottenham squad nowadays. The actual kind of atmosphere itself, it's a stadium that holds 8,000 people. Because that's the other weird thing about this is that the population, I think, of Buda is, I think it's about 42,000. So you could fit the population of Bodo into the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and have about a third of it still free.
Wow.
It's crazy, isn't it? And it's just huge testament to how far they've come as a club and what they've done. And to be in Europa League semi-finals is just incredible. And they're just not to be taken lightly. That's the biggest thing for Spurs. That's in a weird kind of, I don't know if it's a sadistic way of being kind of involved with Tottenham Hotspur over so many years, is that I think they kind of needed that goal they conceded at the end just to sharpen them up a bit, so they couldn't go into this game thinking, oh, we're 3-0 up, this will be easy. Because, you know, we've seen them in Zagreb, and I think we've seen horrible nights where they've completely underestimated the opposition. And yeah, hopefully this sharpens their senses that little bit. But it is Tottenham, so we don't know what kind of Tottenham we're going to get.
Yeah, true. That first 15, 20 minutes is going to be crucial, isn't it? The nerves will be jangling if Spurs concede a goal that early in the match.
Oh, yeah, you've seen Tottenham Hotspur then. Yes.
Just a bit.
That's exactly what we're going to get. They just need to do what they did in Frankfurt, quite frankly, if you'll pardon the pun. They really do. They've got to go there. They've got to put it in a really disciplined performance. They can't go gung-ho, and I know that sometimes can be the Ange way, but in Europe it feels like a compromised version of Ange ball. It feels like a little bit more sensible ball. I don't know if that even works, but it kind of is sensible. Yeah, I've been quite kind of impressed with a lot of the recent performances. Yeah, there's been some on the road earlier in the campaign that were a little bit iffy, and clearly the noise got to them. But I feel like almost in this competition, they're starting to find their feet a bit, hopefully at the right time. And look, they know what the world will say about them if they come here to a small Norwegian town by the sea and let a 2-goal lead slip and the chance to go into Europa League final. That's got to be the biggest motivation of all. Well, other than actually reaching a final in itself, but they can't. They can't do that to us all and themselves. It would just be ridiculous. They've got to play at their absolute maximum. But there should be a fair few fresh legs in that team anyway, so that there should be no excuses.
When you were saying they can't, there just the kind of quote from Titanic just came up. Then I assure you, she can and she will. That's just Spurs for you. But hopefully not
movie quotes from Guesty. This is amazing.
I'm torn really in what exactly what you've said there. That goal kind of does sharpen. Well, it should sharpen the minds, I think, because it's not going to be. It was never going to be easy. Look. Everyone's looking at it as a tiny little team in Norway, the first ever Norwegian team to reach a European semi-final. Spurs should roll them over, and I think I said it. I don't know where I said it before. It might have just been in a conversation with you or Guesty or someone. Spurs of a few years ago, you would go into this two-legged affair saying we'll roll them over, easy, done. Let's get to the final. This year's been very different, and yeah, you're right. I think hopefully that goal does sharpen minds, because there was potential at 3-0 up to kind of go in thinking, the job's done already. 3-0 away from home, taking it into a home leg, you would say the job was done, but going away to Bodo, it's not quite the case.
No, no. Just you kind of saying there that there was a time in the past you'd be confident about Spurs. I'm not sure I remember. No. I've probably missed those. Yeah. Just like I said, they can't take it lightly. They really can't. They've got to be as on it, and that's why I know it's been difficult to watch in the Premier League with the rotation and essentially kind of throwing the Premier League really to a degree. But it has allowed, hopefully, for these European games, not only fresh legs, but fresh minds as well. And that's what we need. I'm very aware for people watching this, by the way, that for some reason I keep looking like I'm going right into the pitch black.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm light. It's just, it's having a bit of a mare. But hey, there you
go.
Back in the light again. And
now sit still.
The light is not changing. Hopefully fresh minds. But I'm going to go, and we've got the press conference in about a couple of hours. That's going to, hopefully we're going to see them do some open training as well. And you'll instantly be able to see kind of what that pitch is like, what the bounce is like, how comfortable they look on it. And, the goalkeepers as well, getting used to the bounce is going to be just a thing in itself. And obviously Bodo used to exactly what they're what they've got to do on there. So it's up to Tottenham to adapt as quickly as possible.
Exactly. The one kind of, I suppose a lot of Spurs fans will have this worry. The one worry I have over a player is Christian Romero, which I think we have worries over him most weeks in terms of what sort of Christian Romero is going to turn up. I just feel like the last few weeks he's showing a bit more of that rash side that he lost a little bit, and can't afford for him to be rash and get an early booking, or even worse against Bodo, and come out flying with a sliding tackle that we know he adores to do, to kind of put his stamp on the game, as it were. So. Is there any kind of thoughts on Romero and how Spurs are going to play at the back? Obviously, Mickey van der Ven and Romero will be the first choice. They've been saved from playing in the Premier League, so we'll have the first choice defence.
Well, do you know what? My worry is more about Mickey van der Ven. It's the hamstring. It's the hamstrings on that surface, and people like Solanke with his knee and stuff like that. It's Romero. I don't know how easy it is to do slide tackles on that pitch, and whether that will be actually more painful to do. Maybe that might make him think twice. Romero's going to be Romero, isn't he? But then I know Romero gets a fair bit of criticism, but actually he's the one player in Spurs squad that kind of knows how to get to big semi-finals, get through the finals and win finals. You know, he's had 3 major international tournaments under his belt now with the World Cup and the 2 Copa Americas. So he's the one really you should be turning to lead the team through moments like this and experience. So I'm sure that will be mentioned. You would think someone like Postecoglou will say to him and say to the players, look to him. He knows what he's doing. He's been here before. And that kind of puts added pressure on him not to be a muppet on the pitch, essentially, and just go in for really stupid challenges that he shouldn't have to. Because I think he's kind of been unfortunate. I think he has that reputation for doing that. When you probably take him across his entire career, he probably hasn't done it as many times as we think he has. No. It's just the moments he has have been so daft. He ends up with a reputation that kind of sticks for it. But yeah, I'm more concerned about Van der Ven and the hamstring aspect of it. I don't think he would, but there is a part of me that wonders whether he would mix things up slightly. But it would kind of then make it entirely redundant of taking them out of the team, Van der Ven and Romero. It's more for me the physical aspect, whether he goes with people like Richarlison on the team again with Solanke and stuff like that. That's where I'm intrigued to see whether he mixes it up a little bit.
Yeah, you talking about needing to be a leader because of his experience, and that I suppose brings us on a little bit in terms of to the team news, because he is going to be the captain. We think, because we don't think there's going to be any sign of James. Well, we're pretty sure there's no sign of James Maddison. Hello, did I drop out there?
You dropped out slightly. I don't know whether that was me or you, but that's fine. That's fine. Romero, if he's captain, I think he will be. I can't see any other reason why he wouldn't be, because I think Maddison, by the sounds of the way Postecoglou was speaking the other day, sounds like he could be out for a while, let alone kind of end of the season. We'll find out hopefully more today at the press conference. Sonny, we'll find out again at the press conference where he's at. Obviously, they always give you that little glimpse of the players getting on the plane. We didn't see that, but we didn't see him in that. That's not necessarily going to rule him out, because there are other players we didn't see on there, I think. But I would imagine even if he were to be available, which I'm starting to wonder if he is, he's going to be on the bench, isn't he? You don't throw him back in after weeks out. So yes, Romero will be the captain. Although it was quite interesting the other day was it at West Ham or was it the game before? One of the games recently, Romero was captain, and it wouldn't have been West Ham then. But Vicario was doing all the talking in the huddle before the match, which is probably maybe expected. We know he's a man that kind of likes to talk a lot and likes to get his point across, whereas maybe Romero is more a leader by actions than words. So, he's going to have to step up. It's like you say, being the captain as well, maybe that adds that extra responsibility and maybe prevents a rash moment, but we'll come back to that in the next pod.
Yeah, exactly. As I say, it's going to be quite a short pod, so we're probably about halfway through now. Do you want to talk us through the benefits of using our sponsors, NordVPN, Ali?
Absolutely. I shall be using them out on this trip, I would imagine, because I'm not sure. One of the key benefits for me of using NordVPN, apart from being able to watch various things from abroad when I'm at home, and things at home that should be abroad. You know what I'm trying to say there. Is that sometimes we go to stadiums and they have no replay monitors, and it is very difficult to then get things right in your match reports. I know people should say you've got eyes, but it doesn't work like that. We're constantly looking up and down at what we're doing. So what I do is I often use Nord to allow me to connect back to whatever TV channel is showing the game back home, and that allows me to watch it, making my device think it's back in the UK, and everyone else can do that as well. And on top of all of that, NordVPN is the fastest VPN in the world, and that means no buffering, no lagging, and you can stream your favorite shows from anywhere in the world without your bandwidth throttling. So many other things. I've just scratched the surface of what you can do with NordVPN. You can use it to book flights, tickets for stuff, concerts from abroad by switching your device, think it's in another country, because sometimes it's cheaper to buy things from the actual destination country that you're going to. And so many other things, security aspects to a degree if you're using public Wi-Fi, loads of stuff. And on top of all of that, you can get a great discount off your NordVPN plan through our special link, which is nordvpn.com/Gold Guest. Our link gives you 4 extra months on a 2-year plan, and there's also no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. So in case you missed it there, the link is in the podcast episode description box.
Thank you very much. Well done on that. Something to worry all Spurs fans out there. Let's take a look at Bodo's record in the Europa League, shall we? I think it was mentioned on commentary last week. But they've essentially played 3 knockout ties before the Spurs game. The first knockout round, they went away to Twente first and lost away, then won 5-2 at home. So a 3-goal margin. Round of 16, they played Olympiacos. First game was at home, won 3-0, 3-goal margin, then lost away. Quarterfinals, played Lazio, 2-0 win at home, so a 2-goal margin against Lazio, and then lost away with it going into penalties, obviously winning the penalty shootout to get the tie with Spurs. So they've won every single knockout game at home by 2 goals or more, which coincidentally is what they need against Spurs tomorrow night, which is demoralising and worrying for all of us Spurs fans. The one thing to hook on, though, is the league phase of it. They played Qarabag at home and lost 2-1 at home to Qarabag, that team that Spurs beat 3-0 with 10 men, I think, in the league phase.
All I'm hearing is that they've scored fewer and fewer goals as a knockout stage has gone on at home. So this time they might only get 1, and that will be enough. 3-2-1. Yes. So you're also saying Spurs need to channel their inner Qarabag.
Yes.
And wrap this game up.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's look, we know it's a tough place to come. The results have borne that out. Everyone that's come here struggled. It's like some of those international games where they go to the kind of high altitude countries. It's something so different. I know it's not high altitude. That's not the issue here. But it's just a very different place to come and play football. And they're a good team. They are. We saw in the first leg. I know they were dominated by Spurs on the whole, but there were some nice passages of football. And you could see with some of their better players back from suspension as well, including their captain, they're going to play some good football, I think. And Spurs are going to have to be patient. The fact that maybe Spurs played the first leg on kind of with less possession, offering up possession. Sorry, I've got beeping on this. I've closed every possible app that could beep on my laptop, and it's still beeping. I think that they had a game where they gave up possession, yet showed how they could kind of tear them apart every time they went forward. That's exactly what they've got to take into this away leg. It shouldn't be any different, really. They got the players to do it. They got pace in the team as well to catch them on the counter. They've also got physical players, Spurs, to kind of win aerial set pieces as well. So there's no excuses, really. I know they've got a strong home record, and that can't be underestimated. But Spurs have kind of got the tools to do it if they put their minds to it, and hopefully they will. Yeah,
absolutely. Bodo haven't played a game since last Thursday. Spurs have admittedly changed side, so it kind of takes us on nicely to Sunday's game. The 1-1 draw at West Ham, which wasn't the greatest game in the world, I must say. I did leave a little bit before the end of the match at the London Stadium because
you missed the winner. There's an amazing winner.
Thankfully, as the head of a football site that covers London, I haven't just said it was a 1-1 draw, missing a winner. So a much changed side. We're gonna see massive changes again tomorrow night, I think, aren't we? But what if anything, does that West Ham game give Spurs and Ange Postecoglou anything going into Thursday night?
Fresh legs, really. That's about it. Fresh minds. It was probably the least ferocious derby I've ever seen in my lifetime. Spurs obviously had their eye on something else completely. West Ham didn't really have their eyes on anything. They were honestly up there with probably Southampton, with one of the worst teams I've seen Spurs play this season. They're in a bad way, West Ham. You can see that. They have Jared Bowen. That is it. He is dragging them through. He's essentially probably kept them in the Premier League, hasn't he, really? Yeah. Spurs didn't really need to go through the motions too much. They probably had the more chances in the second half, but West Ham had a couple of good ones right at the end with Fulkrug heading it over and Bowen's header saved by Vicario. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. You could just see the entire stadium was like, great. I think maybe the main thing you could take is there are a couple of players trying to play for a spot on tomorrow night. I think that was one of the things. I think Matisse Tell, Audebert, I think they were both trying to kind of put their names forward to play on potentially the left. Probably Tell for me wins that battle. If he is to pick one of those, Postecoglou, it still could be Richarlison again on the left. Who else? Yves Bissouma got more minutes into the tank. I didn't think he was bad. He wasn't as good as he was in the first leg against Bodo, but he was, he was solid enough, and that's good for him, I think, confidence-wise going into this game. Kulusevski needs sharpening up quickly, and I think getting another, about 96 minutes or so into his legs, I think that's probably good for him. Although Postecoglou said he could see little glimpses of the old Decky in there. They were very few and far between, but hopefully just having that extra kind of belief in his legs, I suppose, and his fitness and his ability to turn and beat people, which is something he's not doing enough of, which we know he can do. Other than that, not a lot really you could take from it. It was a complete change back four. Vicario had a couple of iffy left-footed distribution moments, which seems to be a bit of a theme. He just can't use that left foot as well. And then, it was only Bissouma in the middle. Elsewhere, everything. Kulusevski, actually. They'll be playing probably Bentancur alongside them, you'd think, in the three. That's it. He only made one sub to give Mikey Moore about 25 minutes or so, which was nice to see. And he actually was quite probably the brightest little cameo we've seen from him in a while. We haven't seen him for about 3 months, so that'll be why. I don't think they'll be taking too much from it, other than it was good minutes in the tank for the legs of players that may have to come in. You don't know. They may have to. Someone could get injured early in this game. Someone could get injured today in training. This is Tottenham. It's very, very possible. And those players at least have got kind of sharpness and rhythm to be able to come in. That's about it. Other than that, it's just a very long way away from the stands, that pitch, and I can never get my head around quite how far it is. It's incredible.
Yeah, it was. I was quite surprised. I thought West Ham looked okay in the first half and actually looked like they wanted to kind of get at Spurs and try and impart themselves on the game. Very surprised by the second half, where they just stood off and let Tottenham have the ball, and West Ham didn't really want it. Tottenham didn't really want to do anything with it. It was just, as you say, one of the worst London derbies you're likely to see.
That was dreadful. All for the battle to not come 17th.
Exactly that. Yes.
Nobody cares. Like, if Spurs finish 17th and win the Europa League, no one really cares or remembers they finished 17th. The history books don't really care about league finishes. I was writing a piece today for the newsletter, and you just it's just mad, isn't it? That all of the kind of, even like the Pochettino era, which, had so many great moments, but you'll still have people say, yeah, but what did he win? It's funny, isn't it? Whereas Postecoglou has a chance to kind of almost erase the fact that the Premier League, he's probably been the worst in the Premier League era in terms of results, yet could be the most successful manager in decades because he wins them a European trophy, which to me is bigger than a League Cup. It's bigger than those 2 League Cup wins. So it's just crazy. This is the way football works. It's having these tangible things over kind of almost progress. It's a very strange thing in football.
Yeah. Do you think it'll be Bissouma in the middle alongside Bentancur and Kulusevski over Sarr?
I think so. I think Bissouma earned it with the first leg, and like I say, he wasn't bad against West Ham. He was reasonable. He was solid. He did a lot of the things he needed to do. So I think it would be pretty harsh to take him out now. And I think that's 3 very physical players in the middle of the park as well to kind of win the battles. I think that would be the way to go. And then you've got Sarr's legs as the game goes on.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it, that we're talking about Bissouma or Sarr being in there and we're kind of missing a 19-year-old that no one would have thought would be in there at the beginning of the season.
Well, Bergvall and Maddison, that's 2 of the first choice 3 gone just when you really don't want them to be gone. It's just such a cliche, but it's what Postecoglou keeps saying. It's the story of the season. It is.
Yeah.
Every time you just think they're getting somewhere, injuries pop up to kind of cut them off at the knees or in the knee, quite literally with Maddison. It's just crazy. They just can't. I was going to say catch a break, but there's probably someone who will break the leg now.
Don't say that.
No, I mean Lucas Bergvall, was just innocuous in training. Tried to turn, no one near him. I mean that's just ridiculous. Maddison didn't even look that bad, did it? It didn't look like there was a moment where he really kind of got injured and looks potentially to be a bad one. Just absolutely crazy. And Sonny, Sonny's been out for feels like an age now. I wonder, if he's not to be there, do we kind of see a Sonny return if they can get through to the final, and that becomes the kind of the 2019 Harry Kane Lucas Moura thing, doesn't it?
Wow, yeah.
If there's a big if Spurs get
of course
through. I do feel for Postecoglou in that aspect. While some results have certainly not been good enough when players have come back to form, and the Premier League form has just been utterly awful for a large chunk of the season, he's got to be the unluckiest manager with injuries that I think I've ever covered as a reporter or seen as a fan, because it's been so sustained across the whole season pretty much. It's just crazy. And, it's very easy to people to go, it's his fault. And it's like, they're not. Bergvall turning on his own in the middle of a training pitch. Solanke turning and having a shot in the middle of a training pitch with no one near him. So many of these injuries have been, even remember Perisic right at the beginning of his time. Perisic turned, Manor Solomon as well. He was another one on the training pitch that just was nowhere near anyone and he just got injured. Just mad. I do feel for him in that respect, but these are the challenges you have to overcome, I guess, if you want to write your name in history, I suppose.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of emphasis tomorrow on Bentancur kind of taking the ball from the defence, Bissouma as well to an extent. I love Kulusevski to bits, but in that 10 he just doesn't do what Maddison does in terms of wanting the ball at every opportunity and driving deep to get it and linking up with the defence to then bring it out of the defence.
The turn. That's the Maddison thing. It's so important. The turn that takes 2 players out of the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, before we call it a day, we just need to talk about Aston Villa, and common sense has prevailed. If Spurs do get to the Europa League final, the Aston Villa game has now been moved from Sunday to the Friday night. So both Spurs and Manchester United will be playing on Friday Night Football on Sky Sports.
It would be classic Spurs for there to be no reason to do that.
Yeah. I was just thinking that. Yeah,
it had to be done. It had to be pre-planned. Of course, it did, because it's just too late notice. Even with like fans having to buy tickets for the final, I've noticed there's kind of emails going out about that. It's like you kind of have to do that because of the short turnaround. But yeah, like you say, common sense. Every team pretty much that Spurs have come up against have kind of their league has helped them out in this Europa League run. Whereas for Spurs, this is the first opportunity really that we've seen in a long time where they've actually been helped out by it. And it does make it fair if United and Spurs do end up being the 2 teams that are in the final. They both play on the same night. Hasn't happened much when you have Sky having 2 games on the same night as well. So that's something that they've obviously had to agree to. I don't get the impression Villa are delighted about it. Certainly seems to be the case. And I think from their side, they felt that they had a run of games when they had Champions League games when no help was given to them whatsoever. And that's absolutely understandable as well to be annoyed about that.
It was also going to be their last home game of the season, wasn't it? So I think they were planning lots of kind of
Family
afternoon stuff
activities,
with the
yeah.
fans. Yeah.
Yeah, so their family activities now can't really take place. Although I think during the process of having a kind of a discussion about it, 7 o'clock on the Sunday was one of the potential options pre all of the Europa League stuff. So that wouldn't have really worked for them either,
No.
but they were kind of still going to do that. Yeah, it's like you say, common sense has prevailed. I still think he'll play a shadow 11 anyway, so I don't think it'll make much of a difference. But there you go.
Exactly that. Cool. We'll leave it there. I would ordinarily have a little chat about predictions and what we think is going to happen, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to predict anything for tomorrow night. I just want to ignore it, kind of, and then get to it tomorrow, and just what will be will be.
Yes, definitely. No jinxing of anything, please.
No. So yes, as Alasdair said, press conference this afternoon, open training. So there'll be a number of lines from that, and we always do a thing spotted that people at home won't have been able to see, obviously. So make sure you keep an eye on football.london for all of those bits and pieces today, and for everything else in the build-up to the Bodo Glimt match on Thursday night. To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/Gold Guest. Our link will also give you 4 months on the 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the podcast episode description box.